me just share. Okay, then I think we'll start first. Thank you everybody for joining the webinar tonight. And the focus of our webinar is about how to maximize our work performance. And previously, I've shared on my LinkedIn about how your career progression is dependent on your work performance, on your image, and most importantly, on your exposure. Although performance in this study done in the US apparently says only about 10% of your career progression is dependent on your work performance, to me, it means that it's still the key to unlock the door. So if you have bad performance, you're not going to get anywhere near career progression, although people might argue there are people who still get career progression. But it's a little bit easier if you're performing well already, and then you can then work on your image and on your exposure to maximize your career progression. And that's the topic of discussion today. How do you maximize your work performance? I'm going to start with a poll first. Yeah. So my poll is, okay, so where do you currently work? Are you in the government setting? You're in the corporate world, running your own business, or you're very lucky and don't have to work, so tai-tai, other stuff that you are doing right now. So let me have a look at where people are. So most of you, yeah, let me just share the result. Currently in corporate. So 8 out of 12, and the other 4 are running your own business already. Congratulations on that. I got another poll that I want to share. Second one is about, I can get this poll to work. So the second poll is a topic that to me is very important. So do you, the ones who are mainly in corporate, obviously, do you practice zero inbox email? I try my best, or you don't really even try, or you don't even think it's possible. You've heard about it, but you don't think it's possible. Wow, I am impressed that many people are trying to do the zero inbox email. When I tell this to my team, they all go, "Are you crazy?" So I am impressed actually that tonight most people are trying to do that. Oh, sorry, I forgot to share the results. Yep. So about 70% of you are trying to achieve that. And I have to say, I practice that all the time, and sometimes it works, sometimes I get down to 0 or 1 or 2, but at least it focuses my effort to get it down to that, and makes me happy when I have single-digit emails in my inbox. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen. So yeah, you can see I am a pro at this. I did tell Robin I've done it a few times.
No worries.
Right. Okay. Okay, so tonight we have a special guest for the topic. So I have Robin Yoo, who's from Singapore. Many of you know him already from the LinkedIn. And a bit about myself first. So I'm Dr. Azhar. Most of you probably know me as well already. I am a medical doctor, a real doctor in the past, before I moved into the pharmaceutical industry. And I've been very fortunate that I've worked in many different countries before this. I've worked in the UK, in Germany, and in the US before I came back to Malaysia. And in the last year or so, my focus is about career development. And what I've been wanting to do is to really help people plan their career so that they can achieve their career goal. And when I was looking back at my career, I thought, what help can I give people? And I listed down a few things that I feel are very important in your planning to move up in the career. So first is about your CV, about your LinkedIn page, which are becoming more important now. The third one is obviously the interview skill. Fourth one is about your presentation skill, and then about the work performance, your image, and then how you're networking. And in the past few weeks, few months, I've already covered the first 4 topics in different webinars, and you can look it up on my YouTube channel. And today is specifically about your work performance, how we can optimize that. And tonight I have a special guest, Robin. And Robin, I met a couple of weeks ago in Singapore, actually. And I've been interested to meet Robin because from what he has written in LinkedIn, it's very deep about the things that he shares. And when I met him, I was really interested in his story that he was in the corporate side and now he is running his own business. And talking to him, I'm most impressed by his positivity, and that's why I wanted him to be here on my on the webinar tonight. So with that, I want to let Robin introduce himself more to all of you. Robin.
Thank you very much, Azahar. Yeah, I think it was a very interesting discussion we had on our outlook of our business and outlook on the corporate that day. So we met on Starbucks. I mean, that was a very nice day that we caught up. For myself, I would just say that I used to be a corporate. I mean, corporate for close to 24 years in various corporate secretarial company in Singapore, in law firms as well. And I always tell myself that I will always want to try things because previously the only way for you to try new things is you must be very mobile in a way, right? So I think that was the onset of my corporate career. I think over the last 3 years, plus I've set up Agile 8. So I have some of my colleagues here. Thank you very much for your support coming over to this webinar as well. So we set up Agile 8, which specializes in a lot of outsourcing services, which includes business valuation and stuff, corporate secretarial accounting. But I'm not going to sell all these products to any of you all here today. Purely, I think the most important thing that caught my attention with Dr. Azahar is to try to share what I have done in terms of maximizing work performance. I wouldn't say that my method is the best or is the only way, but I hope that by sharing this on this platform, you'll find it very meaningful of what I have done over the last 20 over years. Yeah, Azahar.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. I think we had a really good chat, although we had other things to do afterwards, so we couldn't talk that long. I think about an hour and a half. But in that session, I learned a lot about how you approach work, and I really wanted to discuss that more today. And with the listeners here, I'm sure they have more questions for you and me as well. Yeah. So therefore, I want to start first in terms of how you look at the workplace. So therefore, I thought this question is really important. How do we choose between working hard or working smart? Which is more important? So what do you think, Robin?
Well, I think for the purpose of working hard or working smart, it really depends on the timeline of your career. Right? When you start off, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when I start off, I work very hard, right? I would work nearly day and night. I will work from Monday to Sunday, partly because I think I need to catch up. I'm not sure whether I shared this with you. So what I need was because every day we only have 8 hours, right? So if we work 8 hours with 8 hours, technically you will never be able to catch up with your peers or your seniors, right? So technically I'll come to office 2 hours earlier and I'll leave my office 2 hours later. So technically every day I will gain 4 hours extra over my peers, right? So I think that is one of the way that I work hard. And on Saturday and Sunday, I normally will go back to office. Not for anything, it's just for my own personal development where I review things, I pack the mini books, I read the mini books. So every Saturday and Sunday, I'll try to pack close to 6 hours extra. So technically every month, not more. So one to one is 1 month to 1 month. So I work very hard when I was first starting my career, because that's the only way that I can catch up with my peers and also to in a way make sure that I can learn more. And as I continue my progression over the years, probably until I became a supervisor or an assistant manager, then I realized that working hard is not the right way to go. right? Because you cannot keep spending time doing operational work and trying to remember a lot of things. So then you start to learn how to work smarter. And what do I mean by working smarter is that then you try to tap on each other's, your peers' knowledge. And then after that, you do a lot of discussion with them. You come out and have a lunch with them. You have dinner with them. And this also, in a way, allows you to be very interactive. It allows you to learn how to network with people. It allows you how to speak with people, speak at the right time, listen at the right time, and try to figure out things that people tell you, right? So over that period of time, after I have reached the position of a manager, I learned that I could not be doing more work and more work. So what I've done is that I started to entertain, even though I have to pay from my own pocket. So what I did was I will have new clients incorporating company into Singapore. And every time when they come into Singapore to sign, because many years ago, not so much tech savvy, so you have to sign. The person have to come down to
Science,
Singapore, they have to sit in front of you, they sign.
uh,
Yeah, you have to sign, right?
yep, yep,
Yeah, so they have to sign. Yeah, yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. So they have to sign in front of us. So I always take the opportunity to say, hey, why don't we meet after dinner? Let me buy you a very nice dinner. I mean, nice dinner means just a normal dinner lah. It's not expensive, right? So from there on, I started to get to know more and more clients, even to a stage whereby when I started as a head of department in my ex company, I would kind of like do a lot of kind of like entertainment on the sideline. Just an example is that when I meet my board of directors, because I do listed company, so when the board of directors come, some travels from overseas, what I'll do is that I will have dinner with them, have wine with them, for example. And you'll be surprised, Giant sells very nice wines, right? So what we did was we went to Giant, we picked a few nice bottles, we sit by Giant, there's this place for us in Singapore at Suntec. So we sit down by the Giant booth, and then we start opening a few bottles and start chit-chatting. And the beauty of working smart in this way is that you get to know people much, much closer on a very personal basis. Whether he becomes a grandfather, whether he has a daughter has just given birth, or maybe the son has certain ceremony and stuff. So I think as we as our progress in our career, working smart it's not just about learning the technique as fast as you can, or trying to figure out things better than. In my view, is that when you reach a certain career progression, is that your network, the way how you deal with people would be the way to make you smart in that sense. Yeah, Azaha. So that's my take.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Looking back at what I've done in the past also, that when I first get a new job or get promoted to a new role, then yes, I have to work hard. I have to learn the new skill that I don't have, and I have to really show what I can do. So therefore, like what you say, I have to put in the hours. So it'll be 8, 9, 10 hours of the early years. I always say to people, the first year is really about working hard. In Malay, we say pulon, right? You have to just pulon kerja, and that's for about a year. I remember my first year working for Boehringer in Germany. One of the craziest period in my life, I would say, working. It was a new country, new environment, new company, and I really had to prove myself among the foreigners there, and I really put in the hours for that. And then after that, again, similarly about working smart, then you figure out how can I do the same thing with less effort. And that's something I also want to instill in my team, that you need to also not always think about working hard and harder, because you cannot function at the maximum capacity the whole time as well. You just get burnt out. So therefore, to prevent that, then certain things you need to figure out how can you work smart. And these days we have many KPIs. Those who work in corporate, even government, that we have a lot of KPIs being imposed by us, and especially for multinational companies like the one I'm working in, then the KPIs are usually coming centrally. So everyone throughout the world has the same KPI, and therefore it might, at the local level, at the country level, it might not be so suitable, but you still have to figure out how can I meet the KPI, and you have to then find a smart way of how can I meet this KPI. So it's a matter of working hard in the beginning, and then later on, like you mentioned, figuring out how can I get the work done in a smarter way, with less effort.
Yeah, it's always about the organizing part. I always tell my colleagues is that for the first 12 months that you are in a company, you cannot expect to do miracles or wonders. So I totally agree with you, is that when you, for the first 12 months, is for you to find out what is your part that you can play in the company, what is that you can learn from the company, and what is lacking in the company. So it's always good to feedback, within the first 12 months, what we can do better, right? And because by articulating this lackingness or shortfall in any company that you join, I think also it kind of like allows you to express better in the way how your ideas and better how you can really solve problems in the organization, and that will put you in very good state moving on to the future next job or next role. So I think that is also part of the development of working smart eventually.
Yeah, that's right. And with that, I think we can move on to the very next subtopic, which is very appropriate as well, about how to work less in order to do more.
Well, I think when we look at working less to do more, it's also partly how we look at an issue or a problem and start to plan around it before really working for it. So I think just to share an example, I mean, I was once in a law firm, and what happened was we had a company event, and this event or this game is that you are supposed to lay certain things on top of each other, right? So you're supposed to lay something on each other. So I still remember I was standing down there looking at this so-called boy, right? This boy who is the son of a partner, right? So he was watching at how people were putting it. When the referee say, let's go, then everybody start, pull here and there, they put the things. But this boy, I noticed that he was watching them at how they were putting the things. And in my heart, I was thinking, wow, this fella sure going to lose because you're not doing anything but you are just watching, right? So how could you speed up, right? But the funny thing was, after a few minutes, right, of watching the few contestants playing the games and they keep toppling, right? He suddenly pick up the thing and he start to arrange it in a certain manner that in just less than a few seconds, right, he actually managed to pile it out as a pyramid. So sometimes when we talk about work less to do more, I think observation is very important. That's one point, right? Observation. And the second thing is that after you observe, I think planning is very important. I mean, for us, if to work smart is that we plan, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I mean, that's the cheesy words for it. So I think first observe, followed by plan. And then after that, third, I think very important is that you need to learn how to, I think it's one of your topic you will probably also put in is delegation. Because sometimes when you plan, you can only plan so much, but your pair of hands is only two, you see. So there's only so much you can do. But if you can get colleagues or certain peers to actually help you out, I think a few person to do it will be much faster than we try to do it on a lone basis. So I think work less to do more hinges on these few key pillars.
Yep. And I think it's also about once you are in a company for a while, when you are in a position for a while already, that's when you need to start thinking, how can I improve some of the processes? And therefore there is normally when you're new, you can see things in a different light. You might have different ideas. Then you can see, okay, maybe here we can cut out one or two steps of the processes. And again, you're working less, but you're able to do more. And I find people really like that. People really like when you're able to identify, you're able to simplify a process, because it saves time and everyone loves to have more time, right?
Yeah, that's Correct. Yeah. Because by observing, like I said, once you observe, you plan, what you have done is that you cut short the time to market, for example.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you have chopped all your meat, you have washed all your vegetable. I mean, sorry, I'll just put it as an analogy, right? For those who read my LinkedIn, I love analogies, right? So I always use things to kind of like reflect. So if you're into a hawker food, you will always prepare your things in advance by seeing what is the better way. Wash your vegetables, you mince your pork, you mince it, or your chicken, you cut it up, and then you cook, right? Because that's the process that you plan, you see. Rather
Mhm.
than when a person say, okay, I want to have this, then you start, cleaning up the chicken, washing the vegetables and stuff. So this is like correctly like what you have implied, have said, is that when we go into a new environment, or even an existing environment, I think looking at things and observing them is very important, so that we can always plan, and then after that we can kind of like help to simplify a lot of processes.
Yep, yep. And sometimes what I realize is when you see how things are being done, there might be steps that you're thinking, why are we doing it this way? And when you ask people, nobody knows either, because it's been there for like forever. And no one really question it, because it's just been there. It's just part of the process, part of the company. And when you ask, okay, actually, why are we doing it this way? Nobody can tell you, actually. So therefore, that's the other power, I would say, of being the new person in the job, being a new person in the company, that if you observe this, then make sure that you voice it out, so that you can improve the system. Obviously, don't do it on the first day or second day, suddenly going, oh, why are we doing it this way? Then that can antagonize some people too. But later on, when you're already a little bit more settled in the job, that's when you can start giving ideas about how can things be run better and what processes can be improved. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, because sometimes certain processes are set up by our seniors or our much earlier peers. So by trying to change the system, technically we're also trying to unravel the way how they have done things. So you are making them change as well. So in that way, it will make them very uneasy and uncomfortable. So unless you know who is your direct, we call it always the direct person onto that role. I think it's always good to engage the so-called the business owner. We always call it a business owner, or engage that business owner in that line. Make sure that you have their buy-in before you propose something really radical or something really oversimplified.
Yep, that's right. Okay, then I'll move on to the next topic that I wanted to discuss. And obviously to the audience, if you have question, you can either unmute yourself or tap in the chat, and then we'll look into the chat to answer your question. Yeah. So the next part that I want to discuss is really about how to prioritize. This should be a very easy thing to do, but at the same time, I'm always guiding my team when they come to me when they're feeling a bit overwhelmed. Then I will help them to prioritize. So we go through the items that they're doing. Then it'll be like, okay, what's urgent, what's important, and I think when you're overwhelmed and surrounded by these millions of things, you sometimes you cannot see anymore what's urgent, what's not urgent, and what's important, not important, and you need a little bit of guidance on that. So I wanted to ask Robin, how do you do it? What advice do you give to people about prioritization, and what's the difference between urgent and important, which I think is the key to all this, that you must understand what's urgent and what's important, because they're not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether some of my staff have listened to me saying this before, but if no one is going to die, it's not that urgent, right? So if no one is going to die because of, sorry, Javon, don't laugh.
One almost spill her drink.
Yeah. So I think that is the most important message that we want to send to our colleagues, or even for ourselves, for myself. If it's not, no one is going to kind of like, sorry, the word die out of it, then it cannot be urgent. It can be important, but it's definitely not urgent, right? So said again, this is a metaphor. So how do I put it into context, right? So for example, we like Azhar, you have already mentioned a little bit just now was the rank, the priorities, right? So first, what you do is that you rank them, right? You normally will say that, okay, boss asked to do priority 1, right? My manager asked me to do maybe priority 2, correct? So that is the first ranking that you put. But then again, you will have to also ask yourself, if everything is urgent, then nothing is urgent. If everything is important, then nothing is important, right? Because all are the same. So you cannot differentiate between day and night, then that's a big issue for a person who is even in corporate or in business. So I think when we look at the urgency of the work, is that I always look at it in a few methods. First is the ranking, who asked me to do it, right? The second one is that what is the turnaround time required for that piece of work to be done, right? Because if certain urgent work that requires a 24-hour turnaround, definitely we have to do it because we have statutory obligation, for example. If not, then the directors get fined. I mean, I'm speaking from my job context. So we do filing, right? So if you are late, you get fined, there's reputational impact to the directors. Like for example, in some of my listed company, if it is immediately announceable, so technically you got to release within the day before 12 p.m. right? So you have to make it. So that is really urgent, right? Then that becomes urgent because if that is not done, then someone's head will go off. I mean, someone will really kind of like gonna chop, right? So I think, or even the client, they need to submit certain things to certain authorities. If you don't do it, then they may not get the tender, or they may not be able to open the account or things like that. So that is very urgent. When it comes to important things, ranking although plays a part, but I think important things is, frankly speaking, all work are important, right? So I think the differentiation is the urgency to respond to that request, right? No job is not important, because if it's not important, no one is going to kind of like pay us money to do that job or carry it out, right? So by itself, every request that comes in is important, but I think the priority is more on the urgency to turn it around, to make sure that you get it done, then so that no one loses their job or no one's get penalized at the end of the day. So I think that is how I see between urgency and being important.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, having worked in hospital, it's the same approach that I have. If no one is dying, yeah, then it's not urgent. Because as a doctor, then we are called to cardiac arrest. So you're sleeping and you're being woken up by our beeper that there's a cardiac arrest, and that's urgent. So therefore, for me, similar what you just said, that if no one is dying, then it's not urgent, then everything else can be managed, and therefore I don't get too stressed, because I know I have the time. I just need to manage my time better. And normally when people get flustered, in my opinion, is when they don't plan well. Again, going back to what you said earlier about planning, so they haven't planned their time well, they haven't planned their project well. Therefore, when the time comes nearer to the deadline, or nearer to the date of the event, then they get stressed, because suddenly everything becomes urgent because of their own what I would say bad planning. Yeah. So it's not actually, so things are not really urgent. Because of our bad planning, then it becomes urgent. And I'm one of a culprit for that. I'm quite a last minute person, and therefore my coping mechanism is to really put it in my diary when I need to do something by. So instead of just, okay, I have the event, let's say on the 15th of March, instead of only that in my calendar, I would put already a week before whatever that I need to prepare, and 2 weeks before also in my calendar. At least for me, that's how I work, to make sure that I don't get flustered at the end, and I don't have this urgency at the end, because everything is very well planned.
Yeah, it's part of the time management, I guess. I mean, in our corporate career, I mean, in whatever that we do, I think the ability to make full use of our time is really critical. I mean, it helps a lot by making, like what you say, I really totally agree, is by making things from being important into urgent, right? Because if you don't plan well, everything important will become very urgent, right? So I think that is the last thing we want.
Yeah, and I also really ask my people when they have the urgency, is it being put on by someone else? Is someone else saying it's urgent? That's also very important to understand, because everyone will tell you, oh, my work is urgent. Therefore, you have to be very careful. Okay, is it really urgent, or it's somebody else's urgent, somebody else's back planning that is being transferred to you now? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I think we have so just Siobhan saying goodbye. Thank you so much, Siobhan. Thanks for staying. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you so much. Catch you soon. Great session. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye-bye.
bye, bye. Okay. No other question at the moment. Again, if anyone have any question for us, do let us know. Yeah. Okay, then Robin, I'll move on to the next topic. So about our how do you keep your inbox under control?
Well, I guess for me, the key thing is that I'm not a very organized person, okay, from the start. In my earlier career, I'm not very organized. But I learned that by not being organized, I will always end up being very slow in managing my work. I will miss out things. I will miss out emails. I will miss out certain deadlines. So always kena scolding lah. As you are new as an assistant, 27 years ago when I first started, you have all the right to scold your junior, right? As an assistant, you every day you just get it lah, and you stay, right? But nowadays we can't do that the same. But of course, I'm just saying it's previously. So I learned that, cannot every day kena scolding die like that, right? So if I every day are being scolded for not doing my thing or organizing my work well, I think that is not the right way to develop a career. So from there on, slowly I start to tell myself that how do I make it better, right? So what I've done is that I create a priority again. So in my inbox, technically I'll create subfolders. So I have a folder, it's like die must do. Die must do. Singapore slang is like, I must do it. Very important. Then I have things that I can say that 2 days. And then after that, I have things to follow up, right? So technically to follow up, I'll start from the below. So to follow up means that all the emails that is relating to following up on a status, I will pull them into this follow-up folder. Okay, so if I have to follow up on certain documents, for example, it's not signed and returned to me. So any emails that's relating to that, I will pull that into that to follow up. Because that doesn't require any action. It doesn't require any work. It's just to ask, dear sir, dear Mr. Hu, I'd like to check on my email of this day. Has it been signed? We are waiting for it to be returned in order for us to file. So it's very simple. And what I've done is that I create subfolders for my emails as well. So it's the same, dear Mr. Hu. This is already been typed, right? So basically I save it as a draft into this follow-up subfolder. So every time I need to chase someone, I just need to cut and paste onto the new email and just insert the name, insert the date, and insert the document. So it's all standard. So that is very fast. So I can clear all those follow-up. The second one is the 2 days. Anything that's due with 2 days. So if it is 2 days, means it's not very important or not very urgent, right? So I will pull those email requests from the client. For example, they will ask for certain records. They will ask for certain updated registers. They will ask for certain information regarding certain things, which is not important. So I know that I can take up to 2 days to reply. So I will normally draw all these emails into this so-called 2 days reply, right? Yeah, so what I'll do is that I'll reply first. I say, oh, thank you very much. I'll look into it and I'll push it in. So I draw it out from my inbox. And now what is left in my inbox are the die must do, those really important. But normally you don't have that many kind of, you must do kind of emails. So what I'll do is that I will pull them in to this must do inbox, and I'll try to clear that inbox first. And I'll let those email that is coming into my inbox stay. All right. So I will not look into those as I start to clear my most important the inbox. So technically how it goes is that when you have an actual inbox, you segregate it to 3 sub inbox. One is very urgent, one is you can take some time, and one is just purely follow-up.
Follow-up.
Yeah, so I think that's how I keep my inbox clean. So I mean, if my colleagues have seen me, if they look at my inbox, normally by end of the day, it will be a white sheet of paper, right? And most is like 3 lines or 4 lines of email, because everything that we need to do it. Because always we don't forget is that if we don't clear it today, tomorrow is going to have another set of emails coming in. Then we'll be flooded, right?
It's death by email, right?
Yeah, and sometimes depending on your position, I mean on where you are, you're always being copied, right? So I remember when I was head of department in one of my ex-company, I even have a so-called a CC box. Everything that is copied to me, I will just put it there. I don't read the CC things. I only read those to me, right? So to me means it's important. I must look at it. If it's CC me, it's purely for my information. Then I can take my time to distill it. Maybe while having a dinner or during lunch, I can distill it in a way, right? So those are the things. And I told my colleague is that if you CC me and it's very important, that requires my action. After you have CC me, please drop me a message. Then I'll look at that CC email. Because sometimes you CC your boss is because you want to tell your boss, hey, I'm having an issue, right? But if the boss don't read it, looking at it as a CC, I will probably just say, oh, never mind, it's just CC, I'll just take my time, right? I mean, it's just taking my time. But if it's really important, I always tell my colleagues, I say that, please send me a message. Please send me another email and say, hey, Robin, you got to look at this. Right? So I think that is very important.
Yeah, I practice that as well, actually. The CC, I really don't read because exactly what you said. If you want my attention, then it has to be to me. If it's CC, then I just file it straight away. I don't even try to read it later on. Sometimes people ask me, do I have FOMO? Do I feel that I'm missing out on stuff? And I'm like, no, I'm involved in enough things already. So I don't have any FOMO about that. And the people have also asked me, what if there is something very important that somehow it was only a CC to me, then I said it's your mistake for doing that, not mine.
Yeah.
And so far actually been fine. If there is like you said, if there's something important, then somehow people will follow up anyway later on. Yeah. And I also apart from that, I also tell people don't reply to emails all the time, because the more you reply, the more you get back. So therefore, that's another trick from my side, that I don't send too many emails, and I prefer talking to people or calling people to, especially the simple stuff, because it's just clogging up the email. And I also set priorities. You can set priorities on the email, that who are the email coming from, and if it's from my boss, from my direct team, is obviously high priority. And when, let's say, I've been away on holiday and I come back and there are like 200-300 emails, then I can easily just look at the high priority first, sort them out, and then the CC gets filed, and then the rest, just slowly work through. And I really like what you share about what you do in terms of the folder. I currently don't do that. I just have one folder for everything, so I don't have, some people have many different subfolders. I just have the one folder of already done. So I just file it that way. Thanks, Robin, for that tip. I might try that out.
You should keep even a reply folder, because I used to keep this archive of all my replies to client. So what I'll do is that I will have a standard email that I send to myself, right? But in that email that I send to myself, I will cut all my replies to my client, on certain subjects. So the subject on transfer of shares, so all my samples are there. If let's say, for example, allotment of shares, then all my samples are there. So when I send it back to myself, in my subject matter, I'll put there allotment of shares, transfer of shares, certain things like updating registers.
Right.
So every time I need to make a reply. So what I do is just go back to that folder, cut and paste it onto the actual email that I want to send out. And then after that, I will save a lot of time in replying. So that save a lot of time.
Yeah, I love your automation or
That's the
automation. It's not automation, but you're making your work simpler. And
yes.
I think that's from talking to you even before, that's how I think you approach things. Anything that can be simplified, you do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, as we age, we have to make things simpler. I mean, even if we don't do it, I mean, the system, the software is just going to make things simpler and simpler. So you just have to follow up. Maybe I just want to add a point is that for those here with us is that when we reply to email, I always encourage my team members to write as simply as possible, as simple as possible. By the reasoning is that we always want to put ourselves in our client's shoes. Whether do we want to read that kind of emails? So in a way, is that when you reply to client, you try to figure out what the client is going to ask you. So you kind of like anticipate their next question. And if when you reach to the level whereby you can kind of like summarize certain key points and say that, look, if you're going to do this, this is going to happen. If you're going to do that, that's going to happen. So you preempt them asking those questions. So by that kind of method, then what happens is that you probably will not have so many emails coming in and out in that sense when you kind of like try to figure out what the other party is going to ask in the follow-up to your email.
Okay, you're anticipating already, so covering all potential new question in that
Yes.
email.
Yeah, we try that. We try. Yeah, so it kind of like helps.
Yep. Okay. I think before this there were quite a few people who said in the poll they also practice zero inbox email. I don't know whether any of you want to share your tips as well. The ones who are our audience who are also practicing this. Anyone feeling brave to share their tips as well? Oh, Darren.
Okay, cool. I've been working on for about 14 years. I guess it's since first job. I think mainly it's more of like a service level to me. I want to ensure all communication because the fact that somebody copied me, even CC, I believe that it's like for my information. So I will at least read it through, whether I glance it quickly or what. So I tend to, keep in mind what was happening. So yeah, that's why I like to clear my inbox as much as possible. So yeah, of course, there are some emails that we don't really read, right? Like those advertisements and those who soliciting business to you. So you just put it aside. So yeah, so it's never zero to be honest, but yeah, but we try to keep it zero.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Darren. I think it's such a modern work problem, right? Emails inundated by it. Okay.
Yeah, we never finish.
Never finish. Yeah. And I think that's the difference between working in hospital. Actually, one of the big differences when our work finish at 5 or whatever, when the shift ends, then you cannot take your work home because you cannot take the patient home. So it's just done. Whereas when you work in corporate, yeah, the work never ends. It comes with you everywhere, even on your holiday if you're not careful. Right?
Especially with the smartphone, now the email are all synced.
Yeah, that's right. I think with the smartphone lagi lah. Okay, great. Thank you, Darren, for your tip as well. Okay, the next question, Robin, is how to delegate work. Again, something that everyone should be able to do quite easily. But I know, so this is more for the managers, especially. It's something that can be very difficult to do well.
I think the way how I see things is that before you delegate work, my view is that before you delegate work out, you must always show work. What do I mean by show work? Means that if you are going to delegate out to somebody to do the work, you must first be able to teach that person or guide the person as to how you want the things to be done. So my approach is that I have my colleagues here, so if you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so what happened is that if you want to delegate a work out to a person and give comfort to that person that the person has the authority or the control or the rights to do the job well, is that first you must show them how to do the work. So I always like to take people for my colleagues under my wing, or take them through a year or so, right? Yeah, correct. Not last minute delegation, Hasrani. Yeah, you just cannot delegate because you have no time. You cannot delegate because you don't want to do it, right? So there must be a proper process for the delegation in my mind, right? So I always like to take someone under my wing. We train them up after 1 year or 2 years. Then you start to let them do a little bit more by themselves, a little bit more by themselves. So I have my colleagues here. I mean, she attended her board meeting all on her own, which I'm very proud, right? She has been with me for a number of years, right? She has been we have been going for meetings together almost all the time. But well, she actually done it quite well. I mean, the minutes that she had written for them, I mean, the client don't have much comments, which is very good. And by the ability to go on their own, to try to go on their own and do it on their own, that shows that the delegation works well, right? Rather than, you just say, oh, you just go, and you don't really care about how that person feel. Because end of the day, to make a delegation work is that the person who is being delegated the work must feel happy doing it and has the authority to do the job well. So I think that is the key thing for me in when I delegate work. And of course, sometimes because of time reason, we will then in advance tell people and say that, look, I really need you to do this for me, right? So as you go along, we still supervise, right? So we always give assurance. I said that, don't worry, you do it, but I'll still be around to make sure that I look after you, right? You can put me in CC. In this case, CC is very important, right? So you do the email, you send it out, copy me, right? And if there's any complaints or any issues with the client, I will reply. I will support you, I will reply. Then this gives comfort, and over time, which is in months or years, then you'll find that this person will get more and more confident, and then after that, that person will be able to do the job even better than what I'm doing. Seriously, when I delegate a job to people, I'm really hoping that that person will do the job better than me, which is done in that sense.
Right. Yeah, I think it's making sure that they understand what's the objective, what you're trying to achieve, and then once they are familiar with all that, and they're probably doing it your way first, but then as they get more familiar, they might have new ideas, and then it's time for them to do it their own way, achieving the same objective, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you make yourself comfortable when someone wants to try out new things? So you've been doing something, let's say, for 10 years this way, and then one of your team members here say, okay, I have this new idea, Robin, can I do it this way? How do you cope with that?
For me, I always welcome ideas, right? Because I always believe that whatever I have done in the last 10 years is no longer relevant today, right? So whatever ideas that is coming out from my younger colleagues especially will definitely be the way of things moving forward, right? So I think what I'll do is that normally I'll welcome those ideas. We will sit down, have a discussion, and to see whether it works or doesn't work. I would say 90% of the time, 90%, I will probably support those ideas that comes about. And for example, one of my colleagues was talking about corporate secretarial software. We cannot do it manually anymore. So we agree that we purchase a cloud system.
Mm-hmm.
We pay the money. Because for me, end of the day, there is two parts to it. When a person comes with you with an idea, technically it can help us save time. It can increase our efficiency and productivity. We cannot just simply brush away an idea, which has a very big potential to save a lot of time, increase the productivity and efficiency. So by spending that money, whatever the amount is, I mean, based on the budget that we have, if it can make my colleague's life better, why not? Right. So that is how I look at ideas, and I invest in ideas. So if let's say there are certain things that's not moving right, if I'm aware about it, what I'll do is that we'll sit down, have a talk, have a discussion, and then we'll implement it. I mean, just to share a very nice example is that in listed company, Yeah, Yining, this is targeted at you because I think she's here. Yeah, so she has a very wonderful idea. So what happened was in a listed company space, the board member has to do evaluation, right? So with the evaluation format is that you send a soft copy, which is a PDF version. The client will have to fill it up, and then after that, send it back to us for us to collate. So technically, you got to look at every pages and you start to, put it in, start to table, put into an Excel spreadsheet and stuff. Bound to have mistake, spend a lot of time, right? So then she came out with say, hey, why don't we do Survey Monkey? Do a Survey Monkey. You just send out a survey, for them to complete. So we explore it, but unfortunately, Survey Monkey is a free to use tool, but there is not much of a certain, unless you pay a lot for it, but there is not much of a function. So we went on to another provider who is actually supporting our another client. So we tap onto their system, and then we started to send out the evaluation form online. Now we are collecting it back, and the system actually tables it for us. They put it into a nice box for us, everything. So what used to take us 5 hours is now reduced to just purely, assuming the client completes and press the word send, submit, it takes us less than 5 minutes to process everything, right? So from 5 hours to 5 minutes. So I think that was a very wonderful idea. I mean, I also have other colleagues like Matt, who is also here. I mean, he also shared with me certain work processes that we can streamline. So I say every time when we look at ideas, for me, the key point is that does it increase our productivity? Does it increase our efficiency? And if so, how much are we going to spend? If we're going to spend too much, right, and make everybody happy, why not? Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting these new ideas, getting your team comfortable to voice out their ideas. I think it's a testament to how you have built your team, and then that's how, as a manager, the culture that you want to cultivate, that you are making people feel, okay, I can bring up ideas, because if it's a good one, then we can try it and see how we can improve that. And that's, I think, the beauty of delegation work to other people, because that's how you bring in new ideas into the team. And when I from my side, when I came back to Malaysia, we do a lot of what we call advisory board, where we call in doctors, maybe in groups of 10 or 12, to discuss some new clinical data about our drugs and all that. And I've been doing this for many years, and I have my own way of doing stuff. And when the team here wanted to do it a different way, I struggle initially to let go, because it's my what you say, the ego in me. It's like, I've been doing this for years, and you want to change it a different way. But I managed to let go and let them do it the way they want, and the outcome we got was just as good, if not even better. Yeah, so that's what you mentioned just now, that the youngsters might have even more better idea about how to do stuff than us.
Yeah, because our method was wonderful 10 years ago. It doesn't mean that it's wonderful today, is it? Yeah.
We are sadly oldies now.
Yeah, that's the fact of life.
Yep. Okay, so we've got another couple of things we wanted to discuss, and we have one comment about delegate, not subrogate just now. So yes, that's right.
Yes.
Be a nice delegation, not pushing people down to do it.
That's correct. Yeah, I do agree, Christine. Yeah, that's a right term. Yeah, very good term.
Yeah, I agree too. So this one is about when to say yes and when to say no. This is a tricky one, because you always want to be very helpful at work. You want to be seen as approachable and a team player, but at the same time, you cannot say yes all the time. So when to say yes and when to say no, Robin?
It's actually a very tough question, because first you got to see whether I like that person more or not, you see. Okay, I'm just kidding. Whether I like the person more or not is not that important. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But I guess when it comes to when to say yes or when to say no, I think importantly is that for me, I mean, the way how I do things is that I normally will look at what do I have right now at the moment? How much work do I have at the moment? So if I know, because I mean, everybody would know your own capability, right? You know how much you can stomach. So by saying yes to everybody, eventually you are just saying no to yourself, right? So technically what it means is that if you say yes to everyone, you have nothing to do for yourself. You will be doing everybody's work, not your own work. Right. So I think that's the danger of trying to say yes to everyone. And when I look at yes, is that like I said, we look at the things that we are doing at the moment, and whether do we have a spare moment or time that we can say yes to someone. Because once that spare moment or the time is filled up, then the next person who comes to you, you will definitely have to say no. Because you know that you can't complete anything more than that one person. And once in a while, I do previously as a manager, because there's a peer, right? So some manager will come and say, hey, Robin, can you help me look at this announcement? I really have a dinner. I need to go. Please, please, please. Then I said, that, okay, fine. You just ask the team member to pass it to me. Well, on that assumption is that when I say yes to those requests, is that I'm prepared to stay late. I'll stay later. Because on that day, I don't have anything to do. So I say yes, fine. Because I have time, I can do that. But if we are not prepared or we are not able to, in a way of staying longer than what we can commit to, then the danger of saying yes to so many things is that you will end up burning yourself out, and you will also end up being very harsh on yourself, because when you have not enough time by saying yes to everybody, you will find that the productivity that you are doing goes down. The quality of the work that you are doing goes down, and you tend to have more mistakes. And can you imagine if you say yes to someone and because in trying to get it done quickly and you create another mess, a mistake, it's going to be worse, right? I mean, it's going to be even worse for you and for the person, right? So I think
Yeah.
when we say yes to someone, I think it's important that we must first look at ourselves, is that whether we have time to complete our own job. If yes, then are we willing to stay a little bit longer for that person? I think that is very important. I mean, by knowing how to say yes or when to say yes, I think automatically the word no will come in, because you'll know that, sorry, I really can't help because I have to do this and this and this, right? So I think it is more, and people who are who understands the job nature, the nature of the job, will probably understand why you say no. Because a lot of time when people come with you for a job is that they are trying to ask you to do certain things. So again, the person would know that probably you won't take it, but I'm just trying. I'm just trying, right? But again, if we communicate clearly to our colleagues, right, and we are all on the same page, meaning that we know that, okay, the company is short-handed now, everybody should try and chip in as much as possible. Then automatically the yes becomes more, because everybody will now be willing to spend more time, right? So your yes automatically goes up, and the no gets lesser because you are willing to commit together with the company or as a team. So that's how I see the yes and no.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is maybe a conditional yes, meaning that you agree to maybe do only half of what being requested, or they say I need it by Tuesday, then you negotiate something. I can help you, but I can only do it by Friday, for example, right?
Yes.
Understanding your workload. Because at the same time, if you say no all the time, then that are also not good. It means that you're not people will start saying you're not a team player, you don't want to help people, therefore saying no all the time is also not good. And with the saying yes, especially for projects that are involving other departments where you might have more visibility to senior management, that one I would advise to find way to say yes to, even when you're a little bit overworked already. But if there is opportunity and you think you can somehow squeeze in this new project that has high visibility, then that's one that needs to be prioritized. So again, going back to the ranking, who is asking you this favor, then it becomes a little bit more of a priority, right?
Yes.
So then I think with this it leads to the last question, the last thing that I wanted to discuss, and similarly from our side, how do we ask for help? Yeah, well, so when we are overworked and we cannot already perform well, how can we get other people to help us?
Okay, I think this is also depends on which stage you are in your career, right? I mean, for me, it depends on the which one. When I first started off, I didn't really ask much help because first I mean, if you for those who have read my post, is that I started off on a very tough basis because when I joined the company, a lot of my seniors were leaving, right? So I end up have to do a lot of things on my own. So even if I at that point in time, if I were to ask for help, my supervisors or my managers can't do much because they themselves are trying very hard to fight their own stuff, right? But now coming back to it is that if I look back on the hindsight, is that it is actually a very good training because it trains me not to ask help too often, not too easily. Because when you're stuck in a corner, you kind of think of ways to kind of like get out of it, right? So it is definitely okay to ask for help, right? But that will be in the position once you reach a more mid-career, right? You're in a supervisory team, you need help to carry out your work. You need help for staff. You need staff to carry out the work, right? Because you do a little bit of management and you do a bit of supervisory, but you still have operational works to take care. So it's also okay to ask for help. But when it comes to a higher management, like for example, like me as a business owner, normally my way of thinking is that we don't ask for help, but we ask for advice or guidance, right? So it really depends on which part of the career path are you in. So just for those who are in corporate, I mean, you are starting out, do take note that it's definitely okay to ask for help. If your supervisor are there to support you, you must always tell them what is your issue. So a very good time of saying this is not just during the evaluation process. It's the best time is that when you are out having a lunch, having a dinner, casually just talk to your supervisor and say that, hey, I think I need help on certain exposure, I need help on certain training. And if the supervisor or people like, I mean, for me, I listen to my team as well. So if you have any issues, you come to me, I listen. And whatever I can do to help, I'll definitely do it. Because to me, very simple. If I don't help you, very soon you won't help me. Because the staff is just going to say, okay, I give up. Thank you very much. I don't think this is the right place for me. Right. So from the management point of view, we definitely have to help. Right. But from the subordinate level or the colleague level, definitely if you hit any issues, it is definitely okay to ask for help because if you don't get the help that you need, there's only two outcomes for me in my mind. One outcome is just going to give up, right? The other outcome is that you are just not right. If that happens, it's going to be very, very bad for the company that we're working, and especially for management, it's going to be very tough on us because very soon we have no one to assist us in doing what we need to do.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I agree. The one problem I see sometimes is people see asking for help as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Then they suffer on their own, and then their work suffer, and that's when it's really not good that you're not asking for help. I agree with what you said. You don't want to be asking for help all the time, but when your work is now being impacted because you're overworked and overwhelmed and you're still not asking for help, therefore it makes it very hard that you're not asking for help from the people around you. Yeah.
Agree.
Yep. Okay, then we are already at 9:35. So thank you so much, Robin. And it's been an hour. We've been discussing how to, I'm going to summarize it. Basically, working smarter. At the end of the day, all this is about working smarter to maximize your work performance. And the three things I take away from what you said just now, Robin, is about working less. And then second one is about ranking your priorities, like who is asking you to do stuff. And then in terms of management of your time with the inbox is about creating a clear folder and really rank again, like ranking your emails according to the urgency that you have to reply to them. So thank you so much, Robin, for that today. Is there any from your side any summary for today, Robin, for tonight?
Yeah, thank you very much, Zaha. First, I must thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I think I will just have this I mean thoughts. I mean, I wouldn't say advice. I mean more of a thoughts for those who are attending this is that a career in whatever that you do in a career is really definitely a chart that's up to you to chart, right? The journey is up to you to chart. When you need the win for your sale, you definitely need to call for help for the sale. But when you reach a certain destination, always remember to unload and then to reload. So unload is that when you reach a certain destination, remember to unload the negativity, the bad stuff away, and reload yourself and take a time off to reload with all the new positivism. I think that will help a lot in the career and also your performance, because at the end of the day, you can only have a very good performance when you have a very, very good mindset and the attitude towards the job that you are doing.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
So good to talk to you tonight about this.
Same here.
I'm happy that you accept my invitation.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically right now, if you have any feedback that you want to write in the chat, please do so. It'd be nice to hear what you thought about the session tonight. And I want to close off with, I have a workshop that I'm doing in through 2 weeks time in KL, not in Singapore, in Kuala Lumpur. And this is also as part of your plan to improve your chances of getting promoted at work. We all have to do public speaking, and how can we be a more better presenter? And I'm doing a training, a face-to-face training. It's 3 hours in iconic PJ. And if you're interested, you can scan the QR code to register for that. And I know Robin said he doesn't have a website that he wants to push. So I put his LinkedIn profile here.
Thank you very much.
If you haven't connected to Robin already before this, then please do so. There's a QR code for that, which will take you to the LinkedIn profile. So thank you very much again. Thank you for spending your Tuesday night with us. I hope you find something useful from the discussion tonight on how to improve your work performance to increase your chance of career progression. So thank you very much, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.